Hello and welcome back to my channel, and I believe this is going to be the last video when it comes to Ghost Recon Breakpoint for several reasons. First one of them being, well, it's done once more. And while I was wrapping up, any loose ends in terms of game and mechanic and whatnot, I kinda stumbled upon a revelation. It's something that's been boggling me for a very long time, and this is something I would like to discuss today a little bit. This is not going to be your usual hour-long video. It's going to be pretty short and straight to the point. As you can see, currently my solo total playtime is 132 hours, which includes playing the main base game, or Operation Greenstone, playing it through on immersive mode, then replaying it in co-op and replaying it in non-co-op again, plus Motherland and Deep State and whatnot. So overall, it's not really much. If you look at it, it's about, well, 250 hours, give or take. I know there are a lot of people who are actually putting in much more hours than this, and it's kind of expected. Now, here's the thing, when it comes to people who play this for extended periods of time, and I think we kind of need to talk about what you can do in this game. And I must say, the game itself has proven that it can give certain updates. Let me rephrase this real quick. And by rephrasing, I meant I had to fix the scaling issue, because once you alt-tab out to 4040p, it kinda doesn't really fit into the screen, which is fixed now. So, after some reflection, or reflecting on the game itself and the mechanics we've seen so far, I actually understood one thing. Since we have Operation Motherland with all the regions, we have new enemies and things like that, I finally cracked down 5 things that Ubisoft would need to add, or basically it's already there, it's just not being explored, to make this game absolutely realistic and immersive. Of course, I'm not saying it's going to be 100% realistic, but it's going to be as close as it possibly can be. And this kind of stems from my conversation with Vasily, which is the French Milsim player. So he actually, it was way long back, he said that he is so tactical that if his character does not have night vision goggles equipped, he plays in dark. Now, obviously, at that time, it did sound a bit odd, because as you know, we can always cycle through the vision modes, and as you can see, well, I do not have any kind of night vision goggles or thermal goggles on me. Which begs the question, why we don't have it, or more or less, why do we have it? If you don't really understand what I'm hinting here, let me elaborate. The night vision goggles is an ability that is unlocked by a skill point or a perk. So once you get enough skill points, you can actually unlock a lot of useful or useless things, depends on how you look at it. Also, what this game has is gear level. That means that you can actually pick up gear. And once you pick up gear, it will correspond to certain level, or whichever level you are. Now, this actually kinda hit me like a thunder, I would say, for the simple reason, why cannot we just rewrite a game a little tiny bit? And this actually would be kinda up to Ubisoft, because it's already here. So, for night vision goggles, and for that I kind of would need to travel out of here a little bit. Let's just go to the Buvayak. So imagine, I'm just gonna go point by point, and you guys can actually let me in the comments to tell me if I'm crazy or if I'm not crazy. Keep in mind that a brand new, well, way of playing the game is out there, which is Motherland with regions. We have brand new enemy types. So why can't we just tweak this a little bit? So I actually made a list. You can hear, it's a list. Sorry, headphone users, rip. Where I outlined my thoughts, which probably are, just not exactly correct as I would want to put them in words. So, night vision goggles, in my opinion, should not be an ability. It should be an equipment that can be found or salvaged. So when it comes to finding stuff, you can find pants, weapons, basically anything clothing related with a gear level already. Night vision goggles can also be a gear, an actual piece of equipment you need to acquire prior to using, and should not be unlockable with a skill point. Now, how would that work? First of all, we would need to decide where we can get them. It's quite obvious that not in every single place there will be, night vision goggles. For instance, in the middle of nowhere in this wilderness, as you can see, there are no external light sources apart from the moon, and let's assume it's not always there. People like these, random patrols, could actually have night vision goggles or thermal goggles for the simple reason they actually need them. If you are patrolling or you have a checkpoint on a main highway, the checkpoint is usually very well lit, so you're not going to be using basically your night vision goggles in a very well lit checkpoint. It just doesn't make sense, because if you use goggles during day or by staring into the light, well, that's kind of like a free ticket of getting blind, or at least blinded. Second thing, since we have multiple classes like Pathfinder, which unlocks different sensor abilities like the special skill for yourself, technically we can also source and upgrade the night vision goggles with thermal camera elements or the sensor element, and you can actually upgrade them the same way as you do with an optical camouflage: intensity, range, battery duration. Because first of all, this gadget does run on battery, and there's no way in hell you can just run around with night vision goggles for 2 weeks straight without turning them off or replacing the battery. This is a very simple change because it's already in there. You have a cooldown that you can use, and they have proven you can actually have this mechanic built in with the camo. Now, does it change gameplay for tactical advancements? Absolutely. Why? Because your best friend in whole wide world during the night and going against people with NVGs or night vision goggles would be flashbangs. If you throw a flashbang for a patrol or someone who, if you, let's say, disable the power in the station, they bring out the night vision goggles, at least certain types of enemies can actually do it. You throw a flashbang, that's it. They will literally scream in pain because it's just how it works, to be fair. But, I'm not gonna explain in too much details why. But, flash on the eyes and, it's just a very unpleasant experience, let's just put it that way. So, our tactical approach during the night against an enemy with the night vision goggles would be a flashbang. Okay, so that takes care, or at least we can discuss that, it makes sense if we actually have this kind of mechanicing. Moving down the list. Enemies. Now, this is where I had the biggest problem in whole Motherland series in general. I'm not even gonna touch on wolves or elite wolves that are on Golem Island. I would actually propose to change the designation of said enemy units. For instance, if, let's say, the enemies call for reinforcements, in that case, we would need somewhere or within vicinity snipers to be spawned. So snipers, first of all, are very covert, very stealthy, very deadly enemies, and they should not be visible running around unless they're being posted on a watchtower, which usually you take out first. If a sniper would sneak out because he's being called upon, and he would take, let's say, a camouflage position, he would camouflage himself good enough for you to have actually troubles finding him. If Ubisoft would remove the vapor trail after every bullet that is being shot, which is kind of weird, but the same stuff kind of not exactly, as it is realistic, and I seem to fail to reproduce this vapor trail, but I do believe you know what I'm talking about. If you're playing co-op, your friend shoots, you can see literally the vapor trail of the bullet. This can easily be taken away, and you're taking shots. You can have an indicator from which side you're taking shots, but basically you are finally engaged with a much more deadly, much more precise, much more stealthy enemy than before. Then you actually see the sniper just runs out and starts shooting at you shot by shot. Second enemy type we would need to actually change is heavy. So basically the new Rocketeers, or heavy itself as a support. So those guys, I would say, would kind of just need to not exactly be there, but be a bit more beefed up. Because the moment you are getting hammered by a 30mm Vulcan, which is almost, but not luckily, exactly the same gun as A10s use, because they kind of use completely different type of Vulcan gun. It is devastating. It will literally rip you to shreds, and kind of should cause an effect on the environment as well. But obviously, we're not going to see that in game. Anyhow, I do believe, since the Vulcans mounted on the cars are dealing pretty good damage, you can blow up vehicles and take out personnel, the same logic should be applied for the heavy. So once you see the heavy, or heavy's on a hunt and he knows where you are, he can keep suppressing fire on you, and then you actually kind of have to figure out how to get out of the mess you got yourself into. Third but not least is the camo guys with the camo. So these guys, I really would want to see them only as a last resort. Let's say if the first reinforcement wave is dealt with, or it didn't get the job done within a certain time frame, the game would actually summon guys with camo, which might as well be the breacher guys that just goes and equips camo because they already have additional armor. Imagine this enemy type, camouflaged and insane armor underneath the camo, because you can upgrade camouflage to the point where it actually lets you do that, as you can see here. Just a quick reminder how it would work. Combat ready actually reduce battery consumption when using firearms. Also, it does gives you combat ready state for the users can take damage without the camo shutting down. Imagine the new guy with the armor being camouflaged, having a thermal goggles and hunting you after being summoned, and it's one of them. It could be literally anyone from the breachers. They just go into one of those locked areas you can only get through if you throw an EMP or drag a body through. They kit up and they disappear from the radar. Wouldn't that be cool? Remember Wildlands, when you can't actually put a tag for longer than 5 seconds on a guy with a camo because simply you cannot tag it? There you go. You have a perfect enemy which is in conjunction with a sniper. Let's say 2 camo guys, 1 sniper, and you have no idea where you're walking into. That would actually be a challenge, and to be fair, it's quite realistic. Because snipers are very rarely stationed for everyone to be shot by it. They're kind of hidden, they're kind of very interesting species, if I may say so. So if you can see a sniper, then usually it's too late. Well, usually you simply don't see the sniper, but I'm not going to push this so far. Second on the list is the map. Now, the one thing that kind of bugs me the most is once you crash down on a raw on the first mission, you have map in your disposal. This is quite stupid because when you crash down on a raw, you literally don't have anything. You actually have to salvage a weapon because all of your kit is destroyed. Take away the map. Why would you take away a map? Are you mad? No, I'm not. How about you would actually need to go and acquire a map for region? Since we know Motherland works pretty well with regions, it would only make sense that one checkpoint, which is allocated to the certain region, would either have map for a particular region where they're making the patrols or rounds, or maybe half of the map, maybe even all of it, but with very little, like I would say not exactly specific points of interest like this dotted out. Obviously, I have walked around this map before, so it's even it now it's not actually 100% discovered. So let's say if you go and you find the checkpoint on your way, then you can actually navigate to the Mount Hudson or whatever Erewhon was supposed to be. What was that actually name of that place? I don't even remember anymore, to be fair, but you kind of get my point. Oh, Mount Hudson. Hodgson? Anyway, the Mount Hudson. You can finally see as an area of interest where the outcasts, rebels, guerrillas are. It doesn't really matter because the moment you land down, you kind of know where to find them, and it kind of puts. I mean, you're being all stealthy, no HUD, nothing, but you kind of telepathically know without the woman on the radio or whoever that guy was giving you exact coordinates that you need to put in or find where their hideout is. If you just can drive up with a car with a road and just walk in through a canopy, it kind of breaks the balance, I'd say, the immersion. It's kind of like you just walk into a superstore and you literally, before that, you have to take out a patrol, you can just avoid them. Then you have another patrol, which is literally guarding the bridge. So how do you think, what would happen if you smash through them? Let's say you don't kill all of them, because probably people just on a 4th or 5th playthrough, they just go through them, they don't even stop. Also, those enemies doesn't even chase you. If they would call in reinforcements or a drone, and there's a drone nearby, and they see you going through that checkpoint, they can easily track you to the outcast hideout, right? Pretty fucking dumb, and the game could be just over then and then. Roll credits. So obtaining the map, obtaining the pieces of intel that then gets marked on the map, and you have to navigate by the map, and this map, finally, there's a compass, or maybe I just didn't see it before, then you can actually start figuring out where you need to go and what you need to do. And this is for immersive players, because obviously a guided mode it's very easy. You just put a pin and you go for it. But for realistic and immersive people, compass, map, location, and work it out. If you cannot, well, sucks to be you. Going further down, radios. Now, this is something I just don't support, full stop. You know, when you are close to a base or you're close to a patrol, you either hear them over about, I would say, 100 meters that they are talking about whatever they're talking. But if you are sneaking through the base, you are somehow mysteriously picking up enemy comms. And that's how you can actually hear the camo guys, you can hear the heavies talking and whatnot. Now, I figured out what would you guys say if you would need to kill a guy, let's say CQC, right? Without guns blazing. And you can obtain the radio and you can listen in their chatter about which sector they're covering, where they're going, check in intervals. And let's say the radio for a base would be valid for, I would say, just for the sake of argument, 2 hours. Let's say they don't mind that one of the guys is not checking in, maybe he was a new guy, maybe whatever, right? But if you raise an alarm, your radio or earpiece that you have salvaged is instantly useless, because they will obviously, as an enemy, and first tactic move would be change the channel of communication in case someone has obtained this and you don't have the code to input. Or you can interrogate the guy, what is the code, in case alarm goes. So you have interrogation technique, we've used that in Wildlands, and you can interrogate people here as well when you're picking up commanders. So that would be a very good addition to the game. When it comes to everything else, to be fair, I thought this list to be longer. But apart from absolutely overhauling the game, all of this is already in. We have the radio guy who's calling in for reinforcements. We have the night vision. We have the skill for it. We have the upgrade path possible if we treat night vision, thermal, or sensor vision exactly the same way as we treat the camouflage with levels. And we have the map that you have to discover to unlock information, to collate the information to get to the region bad guy. And that's pretty much all there is. The one thing I would kind of want to see, obviously, which is never gonna happen, but would be kind of cool, if you could upgrade your gun IR Eliminator. Because to be fair, this is just absolutely fucking mental. Like, look at this. I mean, this IR Eliminator is crazy. I mean, this should be tweaked, like small, medium, large. You know, if you're going for inside very dark areas, yes, it's kinda makes sense. But to be fair, anyone with NVGs, specifically if your enemies have NVGs, they could see your IR Eliminator and they can pinpoint you. This would actually be a bit more realistic. Because if you're literally running around with an IR flashlight, I mean, I cannot see this happen in real life for the simple reason, if all of these guys are ex-military or active military and they have this kit available, specifically the camo guys with thermal views, and if they can swap over to the NVGs, there you go. Also, a good idea about thermal, you can kill a camo guy and procure thermal camera from those guys, because they essentially are walking with them, and that's where you can kind of see the thermals, the camo guys with the thermal camera. I mean, as you can see, potential for this game is there, and Motherland kind of gave away the fact that Ubisoft can utilize this. So we have the gear level, which can be easily applied to whichever equipment you have procured. You have different grenade types, MK123, you have C4, you have flashbangs. You have the same slingshot drones, which luckily do not require an upgrade, and so on and so forth. So this should be a fairly easy thing to do. And when it comes to sneaking through without a night vision goggles, unless you have them, once you have them, you can use them. Remember back in Wildlands, you actually had to find an actual helmet and then you could stick it on, and that was a whole brand new update. You could do this. So I just, sometimes I don't get it. It's quite clear that this is possible. It's not clear why they never did it. But anyway, I digress. So these are just my quick thoughts in regards what could be done. And let me guys think, what would you like to see? Let's make a dream wish list. Maybe someone from Ubisoft, someone who cares, someone who was in charge making all these updates and bringing these mechanics from Motherland, can go through it and they can create a third map. Let's say, I don't know, call it Seal map or Delta map or, you know, whatever. The same conquest mode, but with these things. Have your Bowdarks, have your extra wolves, have everything else. Doesn't really matter. But imagine the possibilities, guys. Like, just for a second, that would be insanely cool if that was the case. Oops. Misfire. You know what? No, not really. That guy is gonna get rocketed though. Apparently not really. Anyway, I do believe you kind of understand the point I was trying to make, and if not, I do apologize for it. However, I think that these things would be much more immersiveness bringing than stop sliding or slide a bit less than before. That is just my 2 cents, and I'm not saying I'm 100% correct or not correct when it comes to this, but in general things, I do believe it would make much more sense. Anyway, let me guys know what you think about this. Am I crazy? Am I stupid? Or do you think this might actually be a good idea? But I think we can actually kind of agree that things like this would only make the game a bit more immersive than it is. And they are already trying to do it by adding these new enemy types and their own new abilities and whatnot. So, in for a penny, in for a pound. Make Ghost Recon great again. If we're not getting Wildlands 2, well, how about you put some effort in Breakpoint? I don't think it's too much to ask. Anyway, on this note and this idea I wanted to quickly share with you guys, I'm gonna leave you. So as always, thanks for watching, and see you all next time.